Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome back to Temple Beth Shalom. We're so glad you're here. We have people here in the sanctuary, and we have people watching online. We have a Bar Mitzvah family tonight, and Rabbi Pomerantz, Rabbi Davis, and Cantor Siegel will be leading our service tonight. We hope you enjoyed your Sukkot holiday, which culminated with Simchat Torah this past Monday night and Tuesday here. And now we're getting into full swing with our adult education programs. So beginning this week, there's all kinds of things, including Monday night. We have a program on the late Carl Reiner, and Rabbi Glickstein is teaching on Thursday. There's PAC programs. There's Hebrew with Rabbi Davis. There's all kinds of things that are going on, including a cooking class on how to make gefilte fish on Wednesday evening. So how can you go wrong with that? As always, we encourage you to go to our website and see all the different offerings that are there. We also have an adult ed manual. 2 weeks from this Monday is a big event for us here at the temple as well, and that is our annual golf tournament. Again, please go to the website for more information. Our sisterhood is having its kickoff event on the 13th with a very funny Joel Chasnoff. And again, there's all kinds of things that are here. But as Rabbi Pomerantz always says at this point, we take a deep breath and welcome in our Shabbat. So, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Enjoy our service.
Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hine tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hine tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hine tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hine tov me'od. There was evening, there was morning, there was evening, there was morning. Vayi erev, vayi voker, tov me'od. Vayi erev, vayi voker, tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hine tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hine tov me'od.
Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Temple Beth Shalom. Welcome to those of you who are here in the congregation this evening, and welcome to those of you who are online with us. It is a beautiful Shabbat here in South Florida. We're so very blessed. I'm Robert Davis, one of the rabbis here at the temple, and I'm joined with Cantor Lisa Siegel, as well as Rabbi Gail Pomerantz. And this Shabbat, we're so pleased that Zach becomes bar mitzvah, so we're joined with Zach and his family as well. And welcome to this Jewish New Year. This Shabbat, we again begin the cycle of reading the Torah. We start at the beginning again. We read perhaps the most famous biblical story, the story of creation, of moving from chaos to order, from nothing to something, from day, finding day and night, sky, earth, and seas. I believe that the way we tell this story is very important. Elie Wiesel once said, "Not everything that happened is true, and not everything that is true necessarily happened." The story of creation is true. We and the world exist. It is true, and yet we don't know how it came about. One of the greatest rabbinic commentators, Rashi, says that when we talk about the story of creation, our focus should not be on how it happened, but for what purpose the world exists. And in so doing, we might ask, for what purpose do I exist? May this Shabbat, this new beginning, be an opening for us to focus less on how we got here, and more on actualizing our purpose. Shabbat Shalom. It's my pleasure to invite up now Zach and his family to lead us in the kindling of Shabbat candles and in Kiddush. It's found in our prayer book on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
And we continue in preparation for Kiddush on page 4.
Vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol v'racham v'chol Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa v'yishbor bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa v'yavarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'kadesh oto ki vo shavar mikol melachto asher bara Elohim lasot.
And there was evening, and there was morning, the 6th day. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the 7th day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the 7th day for all the work that God had done. And God blessed the 7th day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
L'chaim. And as they are enjoying a little l'chaim, I'm going to invite us all to turn to page 16. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, sing praise to Adonai with song, with trumpets, with the blast of the horn. Raise a shout before Adonai the ruler. Let the sea and on all within it thunder. The world and its inhabitants sing praise to Adonai.
Zamru l'Adonai, Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, Lai, 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 ai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, ai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 oh, lai, 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 ai, lai, 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 Zamru l'Adonai, Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor b'kol zimra, b'chatzot b'kol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Together, oh lai, 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 ai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, ai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yirom hayom umlo, tevel veyoshveva, neharot imcha uchav, yachad harim yironenu, yai, lai, 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 ai, lai, 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 lai.
We greet formally Shabbat with L'chado D. It's found on page 20, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And on the last verse, the very last verse, our custom is to rise and to greet the Shabbat facing the door that we came in.
Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shemu tiferet v'lidchilo, lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat kala pene Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machat Shabbat techilo. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kavod Adonai, alayech nigla, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela.
We remain standing and turn to page 28 for the call to worship the Baruch Hu.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai.
Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we'll meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvchol nafshecha uvchol moedeha vehayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anohi metzaveha hayom al levaveha veshinantan levaneha vedibarta bam בשבתך, בביתך, ובלתך, בדרך, ושוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ובטאטם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Mazel tov, Zach, to you. We're so happy for you and proud of you. And mazel tov as well to your family. Tomorrow, Zach becomes bar mitzvah in the morning. We're really excited for you. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Micha Mocha, page 40. In a moment, we'll pray the Amidah, the standing prayer. One sage teaches that the beginning of all creation that's done by human beings, all human creation, begins with a simple act of defying gravity, getting beyond the static physicality of our lives, getting beyond the fixed understanding of the world. And so we defy gravity as we are able, and rise and recite the central part of our prayer service, HaTefilah, beginning on page 46 and then continuing on the even number pages.
Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Himahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Neihem, L'Ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech Meimid Umechayeh Umatmiach Yeshua V'nemanat al hachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh Ukedoshim b'chol yom yahalalu chasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue our prayers silently, meditations, reflections of our own hearts. Please be seated as you wish.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz ve'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu ve'choshech al pnei tehom. Ve'ruach Elohim merachefet, merachefet, merachefet al pnei hamayim. Vayomer Elohim Yehi or Vayehi or Vayar Elohim et haor kitov Vayavdel Elohim ben haor uvein hachoshech. ורוח אלוהים מרחפת, מרחפת, מרחפת על פני המים. ויקרא אלוהים לאור יום ולחושך קרא לילה, ויהי ערב, ויהי בוקר, יום ורוח אלוהים מרחפת, מרחפת, מרחפת על פני המים.
Thank you, Cantor, and thank you, Alan, for that beautiful piece. Really beautiful. The words from our Torah portion, Bereshit. So Sukkot is now over, but my sukkah is still standing in the driveway, waiting to be disassembled and stored away for another year. Still, the message of Sukkot continues to reverberate in my mind. Some of you have heard me speak about the Daf Yomi I'm studying, the daily page of Talmud in a 7-year cycle that I started about a year and a half ago now. And having finished Tractate Sukkah, the message of one of the pages has remained with me, and I keep reflecting on it. Page 49 discusses the transition from the 7 days of the holiday of Sukkot to the 8th day, which is called Shmini Atzeret, and which we observed this past Tuesday here at Temple Beth Shalom. According to the prior page's Mishnah, one should not dismantle their sukkah on the last day of the holiday, since it's still Sukkot, and eating in a sukkah remains obligatory. But we are taught that we should begin removing utensils from the sukkah on this last day in the afternoon so that we can anticipate eating dinner inside the house on the last night. The Gemara then asks a sensitive question. What should be done if someone doesn't have any place to eat other than the sukkah? 2 responses are given. One is to take a small action that would render the sukkah unfit, thereby rendering it unkosher and can be used after the holiday. And the other is to perform an act in the sukkah that would otherwise be prohibited on the holiday. But the Gemara seems to ignore the larger problem that's here. And the larger problem is what happens with someone who has no other place to go after the sukkah is dismantled, someone who might be homeless or a refugee. Sukkot is a holiday that reminds us of our vulnerability. The wind could blow the sukkah down, rain could pour in the roof, and it has endlessly. And those of us who have been victims of hurricanes or earthquakes or floods, or even the Champlain Towers on Miami Beach, recognize that it's not just Sukkot that are vulnerable, that bricks and mortar, cement and wood can also come crashing down on us, or flood, or be blown apart by harsh winds. Or our financial situation might cave in, leaving us unable to pay our rent or our mortgage. or we might be forced to flee a murderous government, or poverty, or gang violence. This year, the image of the temporary encampments, or Sukkot, if you will, at the Texas Del Rio border crossing struck me powerfully. The surge of thousands of homeless Haitian migrants, huddling in squalid conditions there, fleeing an unstable government, poverty, earthquakes, and hurricanes, with no place else to go. These are not the Sukkot that we are privileged to temporarily dwell in, but leave at the first sign of rain. They are not the dwellings that anyone with a choice to live elsewhere would choose to go. They are the makeshift residences of victims of political chaos, climate crisis, and perhaps too a particular discrimination that Black and brown refugees face. They are the dwellings of desperation. International law is meant to protect the rights of migrants seeking asylum in the United States. But a public health ordinance called Title 42, adopted by former President Trump during the COVID-19 pandemic and now continued by President Biden, allows for the rapid expulsion of migrants by border agents without even the chance for them to seek asylum. The image of last week of refugees in the water being struck and rounded up by border agents on horses hit a raw nerve for so many of us whose parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents once fled for their lives. HIAS, which is the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, which for decades worked to welcome and resettle Jewish refugees and is now committed to helping refugees around the world, is advocating that we abolish Title 42, which has resulted in 1.1 million expulsions in the last 18 months, denying people fleeing poverty, violence, and persecution access to shelter and safety, and disproportionately affecting Black, Indigenous, and Latin asylum seekers. And you can visit HIAS's website for more information and find out what you can do to help the plight of these migrants. In a well-known midrash in our tradition, Rabbis Akiba and Ben Azai argue about which verse is the most fundamental, essential verse in the entire Torah. Rabbi Akiba claims it is one of my favorite verses from the book of Leviticus, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as you love yourself. But the 2nd century sage Ben Azai argues that it's a verse from this week's Torah portion, the very first portion in the Torah. The verse, when God created Adam, God made him B'Tselem Elohim, in the likeness of God. He went on to poke holes in Rabbi Akiba's verse by stating, "You should not say, because I have been dishonored, let my fellow be dishonored along with me." A third rabbi, Tanhuma, explained, "If you do so, know whom you are dishonoring. He made him in the likeness of God." Rabbi Tanhuma's final statement underlines the weakness of Rabbi Akiva's claim, though it is certainly praiseworthy to love your neighbor as you love yourself. This might imply that you only need to treat your neighbor as well or as poorly as you yourself are treated. Ben Azai notes that if we truly understand that all people are created B'Tselem Elohim, that all people are created in God's image, then we must accept that anytime we shame, insult, or abuse one another, it is as if we are diminishing God. How easy it is for us to ignore the plight of the homeless or the refugee, as even our page of Talmud seems to. Those who live in the margins, or maybe even the gutters of society. But what Ben Azai is teaching us is that when we allow human beings to be treated worse than we would treat a dog or any kind of beast at all, then we are diminishing or defacing God's image. Circling back to our tractate of Talmud, Sukkah, we find a teaching by Rabbi Elazar, which may in fact be read as a response to what to do about the person who does not have a permanent residence to return to after Sukkot. He says, "One who performs acts of charity is greater than one who sacrifices all types of offerings." And further, he states, acts of kindness, assisting someone in need, are greater than acts of charity. Let all of us take this teaching to heart as we think about those around the globe, but particularly those right here at our U.S. border, whose temporary dwellings are a last resort. May we act with kindness and assist those in need, as Rabbi Elazar taught, through charity and advocacy, so that people everywhere find the protection they so desperately seek. May we restore God's image to all of God's children and work for the day when all people will find a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace that protects them from life's storms. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, haporeh sukat shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
Take a few moments now to pray Misha Berach, a prayer of healing for friends and family, for those of you who might be here in the sanctuary or at home in need of renewal of body and renewal of spirit. If you are praying for someone, perhaps even yourself, I invite you to share those names. Those of you that are on the Facebook page, I invite you to type those names into the Facebook page. And those of you here in the sanctuary, if you'd like to add a name to our prayers, I'll ask you to please rise and mention those names out loud so that we can all pray on behalf of the people for whom you're praying. Michael? Thank you. Thank you.
Kathy Hurwitz.
Thank you.
Thomas Allen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gilbert Price.
Thank you. In addition to the names just mentioned, we continue to pray on behalf of American and Israeli soldiers who are missing in action, being held captive, or in need of physical or emotional healing. And I invite you to join together in praying Misha Berach, praying for a refuah Shlema, Complete Healing, page 253.
Mi shebeirach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim Sheberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim.
Rise as we're able, and we face toward Jerusalem, toward the east, for Aleinu, page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We remember now those who came before us, those who may have died in years past at this season, those who may have died in recent days. As a congregation, we remember the more than 6 million men, women, and children who were murdered in the Shoah and the Holocaust. Remember all those who perished in the name of liberty, freedom, justice, and righteousness. Remember those who died making sure that our homeland Israel exists for us and for Jews everywhere. And remember all the innocent victims of hatred, ignorance, terrorism, disease, violence, and natural disaster. On this Shabbat, we remember friends and family whose yortzites are being observed and whose names have lovingly been inscribed on plaques, which are in our alcove of remembrance. We remember Rose Adler, Belle Amder, Marwin S. Cassell, Joshua Isaac Lickstein, Jack Golem, Ray Cronish Gruber, Rosalind G. Hausman, Max Karasik, Max Krams, Sarah Leibowitz, Hilda Litvin, Donald Locke, Max Madorsky, Albert Nanis, Sidney Nanis, Milton Nussbaum, Samuel J. Rabin, Henry Rosenblum, Martin Solomon, Richard Singerman, Linda Snitzer, Ralph Spiro, Samuel Taub, Ruth Jenny Teitelbaum, Abbott Weisbord, Eugene J. Weiss, Louis Wolfson. Remember as well friends and family whose yortzites are being observed at this time: Alan Band, Marilyn Burko, Joyce Burdoff, Terry Bishop, Dorothy Bond, Florence Ullman Breslov, Barbara Bella Cohen, Max Dower, Charles Dreyfus, Robert K. Frank, Bernard Charles Fuller, A. Lewis Gordon, Harry Hoberman, Albert Levinton, Magda Leuchter, Lillian Lichten, Theodore Harris Livingston, Jacques Loix, Jonas Michon, Helen Nash, Marlene Orticelli, David Rosen, Martha Green Rosen, Sam Schwartz, Morris Serban, Stephen Silverman, Leon Circus, Hai Sternfeld, and Ida Ziff Tapper. And we remember as well friends and family who've died in recent days, and their families remain in the Shloshim of mourning, in the 30-day period of mourning. We remember Pearl Kipnis, Dr. Anthony Luter, Sylvia Fruitman Kaufman, Avi Zisman, Florence Holbert, Sean Martin, Lydia Helminskaya, Martin Golden, Daniel Fenster, Eileen Bressler Treaster, Elizabeth Cowley Laurie. If there's a name that I haven't mentioned, you're in a period of mourning, you're saying Kaddish, I'll ask you here in the congregation to please rise, and I'll ask you for those names in a moment. And those of you who are on the watch page on Facebook, I invite you to write those names into the chat box as well. Yes? Thank you. Please remain standing as we're going to join for Kaddish in a moment. Thank you. Thank you. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of all the righteous in our lives be a blessing as we rise as we're able and recite with one voice words of Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, Bagala v'zman kariv v'yimeru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'rechu, le'elah min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran v'yalma v'yimeru, Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimeru, Amen. Osei Shalom B'mromav, Hu Ya'asei Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimeru, Amen. May the source of peace grant peace to all of you who mourn, comfort all who are bereaved, and send healing to all who are saddened, as together we say, Amen. Please be seated. It's my pleasure now to invite up Karen Revo, a member of our congregation, past president of the temple, to share greetings on behalf of the congregation. And welcome back to announcements. The rabbis have been doing the announcements for quite a while, so glad to have Karen back.
Shabbat Shalom. Okay, we're not many, but we can do a lot better. Shabbat Shalom. Yes, let's bring in that beautiful ruach of Shabbat. It's so nice to be here, and I invite all of our temple members to come back to the sanctuary. It's safe and it's beautiful. And for all of those who are listening, Shabbat Shalom to you. To Zachary, Mazal Tov to you on tomorrow's service. I know you're going to be wonderful. And to your entire family, the Mionis family, who I assume are visiting from different places. Welcome to you. And what time do you want everybody here tomorrow? Why do they always look at the mom? 10:30. Yes? What time? 10 o'clock. Okay, so your service starts at 10 o'clock. We also have Torah study tomorrow at 9:30, and we have our traditional minyan service at 10:30. So many opportunities starting this week to learn and to laugh. Monday, October 4th, we're going to have a Zoom session with Mark Baranek to talk about Jewish comedians. And the first comedian is going to be Carl Reiner. So I hope you'll join us. On October 6th, 2 opportunities to study. Rabbi Loibin is starting a 6-part series to study excerpts of the Talmud, and that will be via Zoom at noon. Wednesday night, Mark Baranek's better half, Nava Regev, is going to have Mark, is it Zoom? This is a Zoom session to teach us how to make gefilte fish. That got some attention. So that's going to be at 6 o'clock. And then finally, on Thursday night, Rabbi Glickstein is starting a 12-part series from the I Engage Shalom Hartman Institute's course. And the first 3 sessions are going to be focusing on peoplehood. Does the Jewish people have one home or two? So you have a lot of opportunities to engage this week, and just go on the website or look at our emails to get your contact information. Finally, 2 more big events. October 17th, the 8th annual Richard Sharpstein Memorial Schmooze and Food Drive. Richard was a great advocate for food insecurity, and so this annual service will be at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom. Finally, we have a golf tournament, and even if you don't play golf, you can sign up to come to have, I think, dinner with everyone. That's going to be on Monday, October 18th, and all the information is on our website. So again, Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov to Zachary. Thank you.
And thank you, Karen, for those beautiful announcements. You did really well. I found comfort in it. We're going to conclude our services this evening with a song, Olam Yebaneh. I think that's up there. And I'm going to invite you to rise and let's sing, get our hearts moving a little bit and bring in some Shabbat spirit.
Olam chesed yibaneh, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. Olam chesed yibaneh, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. From love, I will build this world with love. Yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. And you must build this world with love. Yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. And if we build this world with love, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. Then God will build this world with love. Yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.